Mahabalipuram is picturesquely situated about 59 kilometers south of Chennai. It can be reached from Chennai by a road along the sea coast via Kovalam. Mahabalipuram attracts visitors from all over the world for its classic monuments. A storehouse of artistic wealth where study of the ancient Tamilian sculpture and architecture becomes a part of the pleasant holiday. Mahabalipuram has been famous as a seaport even from the beginning of the Christian era. An unknown Greek navigator of the 1st century AD in his work refers to Mahabalipuram as a port north of the Kaveri. The present name, Mahabalipuram, comes from Mamallapuram, the city of Mamalla, a title of the great Pallava ruler of the 7th century, Narsimhavarman I, the king who was responsible for most of the rock-cut temples and carvings of Mahabalipuram. The Vaishnava saint, Thirumangai Alvar, has given a graphic description of the Mahabalipuram harbour, with its anchored ships laden with treasure, huge elephants, and the 9 gems. Among the monuments of Mahabalipuram, the foremost are the 5 monoliths, a compact group of freestanding temples carved out of solid rock. Excavated during the reign of Narsimhavarman I, these groups of monoliths are the earliest monuments of their kind in India. Without any historical basis, these temples are related with the 5 Pandavas of the Mahabharat. The Dharmaraj Rath is highest among the group. The pyramidal structure has a square base like a rath, while the upper portion is a series of diminishing stories with a row of windows. The 4 corner blocks each have 2 panels with standing figures. Figure of Harihara, statue of Brahma, Shiva wearing a mass of matted hair, Jatabhar, King Narasimhavarman, his epithets Shri Megha and Trailokya Vardhana Vidhi inscribed in Grantha characters of the time. Ardhanarishwara, a most delightful sculpture of the early Pallava age, a combination of Shiva and Parvati. Shiva is carrying a weapon, while Parvati holds a lotus in her hand. Next to the Dharmaraj Rath stands the Bhim Rath. The roof resembles a hood of a country wagon, suggesting its origin from the thatched hut with a covering. Similar to that of the Dharmaraj Rath, this is also ornamented with false chaitya windows and pavilions. The 3rd monolith is the Arjun Rath, almost a replica of the Dharmaraj Rath. 3 sides of the main body of the Rath contain 5 panels each. The standing figures of Dwarpals, Shiva leaning on Nandi, Indra on his elephant Airavat, the royal couples, Vishnu leaning on Garuda, a colossal monolithic Nandi. Even in its semi-finished state, it is an example of master craftsmanship. The most elegant among the group of 5 monoliths is the Draupadi Rath. The niche is crowned by Makara Toran, on either sides the Dwarpalikas. Durga adored by 2 male worshippers. the flying dwarfs. A monolithic lion stands near the entrance. The Rath of the twin heroes Nakul and Sahadev. The shape of the Rath is Gajaprishtakar, or like an elephant back. A monolithic elephant stands near the Rath. Coming from the 5 monoliths as one moves towards the north, just in front of the lighthouse, is this unfinished carving. The sculptor might have experimented here before undertaking his main task. As one moves more towards the edge of the hill, one can encounter the sculptor's masterpiece, Arjuna's penance. The most famous of the entire range of Mahabalipuram monuments, Chandra, Surya, pairs of Kinnars, Siddhas, Gandharvas and Apsaras are rushing towards a central point near the cleft where a sage is deeply engaged in penance. The scene represents the story from the Mahabharat, where Arjun performs a penance to please Shiva to get the Pashupatha weapon from him. This story was very popular about the time when the sculpture was executed. Apart from the celestials, there are hunters, sages, and wild animals. The group of elephants, so faithfully true to nature. Gracefully carved figures of Naga and Nagis. A disciple carrying water in a pot on his shoulder, wringing out water from a wet cloth. A disciple engaged in Suryopasthana, indicating the position of the sun and the hour of the day. A deer fearlessly resting at ease near a lion, suggesting a hermitage of the sages. Peace and calm is also reflected by the meditating cat, while rats frolic about freely. A realistic carving of a group of monkeys, the father, mother, and child. One of the parents is removing lice from the head of the other, and the little one is resting on the lap. Next to Arjun's penance, on the left, is the cave cut on the side of a boulder, showing scenes from Krishna's life. Krishna lifting the Govardhan mountain to protect the cowherds from the storm raised by Indra. This Govardhan scene is probably the best in India, even better than the one at Ellora. Krishna's brother Balram. A delightful scene of a cowherd milking the cow. The animal is licking the calf in a very natural manner. A group of lions, griffins and sphinxes shows the persistence of earlier traditions. Similar representations can be found at Amravati and Sanchi. A gopi holding a pile of milk pots in a rope sling. A woodcutter with his axe idly resting on his shoulder. Everything realistically depicts the unconcern of the cowherds at the fury of Indra. A path ahead of the monkey group leads to one of the finest monolithic temples at Mahabalipuram, the Ganesh Rath. The richly decorated roof with 9 vase-shaped finials is the predecessor of the later Gopuram styles, an essential accessory of medieval South Indian temples. To the west of the Ganesh Rath and behind Arjun's penance is the cave known as Varaha Mandap. Varaha, raising Prithvi, the goddess of the earth, from the ocean where she was submerged. The snout of the boar and the head of the animal blends in a natural way with the human contour of the rest of the figure. Certainly an artistic masterpiece. Surya, Brahma, and the Rishis. The right foot of Varaha rests on the hoods of the king of snakes, Sheshnag. Interestingly, the portrayal of lotus leaves and ripples suggests water. Gajalakshmi, seated on a lotus and lustrated by elephants. Lakshmi wears a peculiar type of crown and a golden cross garland on her torso. A beautiful representation of goddess Durga carrying a wheel and a discus. The parasol indicates her universal sovereignty. Trivikarma overcoming the demon king Bali. Vishnu with his bow, sword, shield and his conch, with discus and his club. The sun and the moon suggest the celestial sphere. Bali and other demons are subdued at his feet. This is most likely the figure of Shiva, and Brahma adores the uplifted foot of Vishnu. And Jambavan rejoices by beating a drum. Trishankhu is falling in midair. On the way towards the Trimurti cave, this perfectly balanced boulder is popularly known as Krishna's butterball. Alternately, this is also called as Bhima's oven by the villagers. The Trimurti cave dedicated to the 3 Hindu gods, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. A niche with a Makara Toran where Durga stands on the slashed head of the demon Mahishasur. An unusual Brahma with a single face, wearing a cross garland of Rudraksh beads. Statue of Shiva, a figure of Vishnu. A steep climb up the stairs leads the way to the Mahishamardani caves. The pillars are polygonal with spherical bolsters and supported by squatting lions. Magnificent portrayal of Mahishamardini holding a bow with a string pulled up to her ear. Most likely the best representations of plastic art at Mahabalipuram. Almost a fully animated battle scene. the minute contours of the Mahishasur demon have been powerfully defined. Vishnu in Yog Nidra, Madhu and Ketava brandishing their weapons, beautiful youths, Sudarshana the discus, Nandaka the sword, charming Kaumodaki the club, and the dwarfish Panchajanya the conch, are all taking the permission of the Lord to proceed against the demons. The central cell has the figure of Somaskanda and Shiva with his vehicle Nandi. The entire region of Mahabalipuram has a number of finished and semi-finished rock carvings. Why the sculptors built them, or for that matter, why did they discard them? It's difficult to find an appropriate answer today. Nevertheless, a testimony of Pallava art is scattered all around Mahabalipuram. Like the unfinished shrines of Pidari and Valayankuttai Raths lying close to the Buckingham Canal, two Raths, smaller in size than the 5 monoliths, though roughly finished, resemble the Arjun Rath. A little to the north of the shore temple is Mahishasur rock with a shrine of Durga cut into it. There is no evidence whatsoever indicating the reason why this small shrine was made, except that the first morning sun salutes Mother Durga at the Mahabalipuram shores. Almost 5 kilometers north of Mahabalipuram, there is an interesting rock carving, the Tiger Cave, a shrine dedicated to Durga. The peculiar nature of the rampant lion suggests that the shrine was made during the reign of Rajasimha. The ultimate expression of Pallava art of Mahabalipuram is finally manifested in the shore temple. The entire temple compound was buried under a thick deposit of sand till a few years ago. This has been meticulously cleared by the Archaeological Survey of India. But the extreme nearness of the sea is a perpetual menace to the safety of the temple. The salt-laden winds from the sea are eating into the vitals of the fabric and supplemented by rain, causing erosion of the sculpture. A fine example of a masonry temple of Rajasimha's time. Unlike that of the Kailashnath temple, the Vimana is somewhat narrow and elongated. The expansive courtyard is partly surrounded by an unfinished enclosure, along which are arranged rows of Nandis. a remarkable representation of Durga's vehicle. The goddess is seated on the right hind leg of the animal, a headless but skillfully executed seated deer. The usual Pallava tradition of presenting Somaskand root behind the Shivaling is also repeated on either side of the walls of the porch. A cell without a superstructure, where Seshasai Vishnu rests in Yog Nidra. The Shore Temple, even today, stands in somber dignity as a substantiation of our rich cultural heritage, an ultimate salutation of the Pallava rulers and their master sculptors to the credentials of Indian cultural legacy.
Oh,